Ta-da-dang! I'm early today. Usually I'm 5 minutes late. How are you, everyone? We are going to do a very, very big area today, and that is Indian fiction in English. You won't say hello to me? You can say hello to me? Well, people are thinking Kalyani is usually 5 minutes late. We'll go 5 minutes late. Yesterday we talked about Indian poetry. Tomorrow we will talk about drama and Dalit literature. Is that fine, everyone? Hello, hello. So, we have to talk about post-independence Indian fiction. Remember, in the post-independence period, there was a shift towards society from religion, from nationalism, from mythology, from romanticization. The shift was towards society, city and village, the squalor and misery of life, family. Many people began to write in a secular manner about modernization and its evils. Modernization was not looked at sympathetically by the early writers in Indian fiction. They thought going to the city is going to corrupt you. They talked about people's hypocrisy and so on and so forth. All of us know that Indian fiction began with three great writers, Mulk Raj Anand, R.K. Narayan and Raja Rao. Stay till the end of this session because we'll be talking about a lot of great writers today. Not only the early writers, but a lot of great writers. So guys, first, before we talk about Mulk Raj Anand, Republic Day offer is continuing. Today is the last day. If you want to save your money, you can do that now. Use the code Kalyani Balak to get 10% off. Now, Mulk Raj Anand, these days in NET exam, SET exam, GATE exam, they are asking questions from these early writers also. But they are asking very tricky questions. They are asking about their minor works. Okay, so remember to look up all the writers, study all these works. Shall I tell you about Mulk Raj Anand? Mulk Raj Anand is India's Charles Dickens. Why? Because Mulk Raj Anand wrote about the untouchables, the underprivileged people of India, like Charles Dickens did in England. Hai Mulk Raj Anand is therefore called India's Charles Dickens. And guys, his first novel, as all of you know, is The Untouchable. The Untouchable is a 1935 novel set in one day of Baka's life, like in Ulysses by our James Joyce. The Untouchable is one day in the life of the Bhangi or toilet cleaner Baka. And in the course of one day, he is undergoing a lot of troubles. He is slapped for accidentally touching an upper caste Hindu. He actually did not even touch. That man came and touched him. But he got slapped. His sister Sohini was molested by Kalicharan, the priest. He was blamed for some boy getting hurt during the hockey game. अरे कुछ अच्छा भी हुआ था. हॉकी स्टिक ही गॉट नया. एक नया हॉकी स्टिक मिला. कहाँ से? हविलदार चारत सिंह gave him a hockey stick. He was a very famous hockey player. And then he was not able to enjoy at his friend Ramcharan's sister's wedding. And then he went and listened to a speech by none other than Mahatma Gandhi. There he heard two learned men talking about Mahatma Gandhi. Iqbal Nath Sarshar, a poet, was skeptical of Gandhi's ideology, but he supported Gandhi. But there was a lawyer who criticized. Anyway, he did not understand, Baka did not understand everything. And he also met a Salvation Army official, a Christian, who told him about Jesus. Now at the end, Baka is thinking, what is the solution to my caste problem? Probably I should get a flush machine, or I should convert to Christianity, or follow Gandhi. So like this, his predicament is shown in The Untouchable. Very important novel, isn't it? Then Coolie. Coolie is not set in one day. Coolie is a story of the short life of Munnu. Munnu's story told over 1 year. We are told when the story starting is when the little boy is 14 years old, and when he is 15 he dies. In Munnu's case, his aunt is very cruel to him. So he goes and lives with Babu Nathuram and his wife BBG. There also he is not treated properly. He is treated like a monkey by everybody. And then he escapes and goes to Prabhadayal's pickle factory in Bilaspur. You know, cat killers lane, one very terrible place is there. That is where he lives. And then he becomes coolie in a grain market. He reaches Bombay by then. One elephant trainer helps him. And then the mill also closes down. At that time there is a communal riot and he gets into an accident. Mrs. Mainwaring nearly runs over him. And then he becomes Mrs. Mainwaring's servant. And finally he dies of tuberculosis. Small, short life. Did you understand? It's a very sad story. Like this, Two Leaves and a Bud is also about an Assam tea plantation worker. He's a Punjabi, but he goes to Assam and he works there in tea plantation, but he has a lot of trouble saving his daughter from the lusty men. And finally, this is like a journey of life, this journey that Gangu undertakes. Gangu is the protagonist of Two Leaves and a Bud. Two Leaves and a Bud shows the vulnerability of tea shoots. That is a metaphor or symbol for the vulnerability of the workers. And finally he dies. That is Two Leaves and a Bud. And then he wrote Lalu Trilogy. Lalu Trilogy is set in Punjab. It is about Lal Singh, a man who is getting fed up with his village and going abroad, and he fights in the army, and then he becomes disillusioned with the Westerners. He comes back to his village. That is 3 novels: The Village, Across the Black Waters, and The Sword and the Sickle. Remember, Across the Black Waters is set during the war. First World War. Barber's Trade Union is an amazing novel where Chandu, the barber boy, becomes the leader of the other barbers. He asks everybody to go to town and work there so that the villagers all get long beards, long hair, because there is nobody to shave them. That is the Barbers' Trade Union. Saima, many people here are preparing for GATE. I am teaching all this for GATE also, because in Indian literature is a very important part of GATE. And then we have The Private Life of an Indian Prince. Ashok Kumar, Victor Ashok Kumar of Shampur, is a very pampered man. He is a womanizer and he is the prince ruling a small kingdom. There were 600 kingdoms like that when India became free. And all this had to be integrated into the Indian Union. So this Victor Ashok Kumar of Shampur stands up against Lal Bahadur Shastri and does not want to just give in to the Indian Union. That is the story of not Lal Bahadur Shastri, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, and that is the story of. So there are two things. One is he's a very pampered man who represents. He's an objective correlative of what India was at that time, and then Patel is like a tyrant, and he's present. That shows the other reality of India. So this is a very important historical novel, actually, the private life of an Indian prince. The Old Woman and the Cow is another important book where a woman called Gauri is oppressed by the patriarchal society, but she stands up against the society. Like that, so many wonderful works are there that brought international fame, including Anand's autobiographies. He planned 7 autobiographies, but he wrote only 4 out of it. 7 Summers, Morning Face, Confession of a Lover, and The Bubble. Based on the 7 stages of man. In As You Like It, the philosopher Jake is talking about the 7 stages of man. Out of that, 4 only he has written. 7 Summers, Morning Face, that is childhood. 7 Summer is 1 to 7 years old. Then Morning Face is school going boy. Then youth is Confession of a Lover. Then adult is Bubble. Okay? Yes, that is right. Our E.M. Foster criticized Coolie. I have to remember to tell you that also. That is right. Then, these writers were very close to Indian writers at this time, and E.M. Foster wrote the introduction to Untouchable. It was Graham Greene who helped R.K. Narayan to publish his works. So that point I had to tell you. So these are some of the major works of Mulk Raj Anand. Mulk Raj Anand has also written Pidgin English. Remember? We talked about it. Yes. Ta-da-dang! R.K. Narayan. R.K. Narayan, as you know, is famous for Malgudi, the plays that he depicted, which is typical India. Malgudi is like an objective correlative of rural India. But one thing is there, guys, in Malgudi, some foreigners come and disrupts the peace of Malgudi. The foreigners come and disrupt the peace of Malgudi. Did you understand? Then, yeah, I am reading your messages. I will try to do all that you're telling me. Yeah. That is also true. Morning Face got Sahitya Academy Award. That is there. Yes. And I did not say one more thing. Krishnan Chandar is the protagonist. Krishnan Chandar is the protagonist of the the autobiographies. Yeah. We have gate quizzes where I have included some questions based on mental aptitude and general aptitude, bubbly. But today, because it's Indian literature, I'm not talking about it. If you get practice, it will be easy. Because of practice, lack of practice. Now, shall I tell you about R.K. Narayan? R.K. Narayan has presented the Kannada town of Malgudi in his works, novels as well as short stories. He was the first recipient of Sahitya Academy Award, and he got it for which novel, bolo? Guide. And his Swami and Friends Bachelor of Arts and Indian English teacher became a trilogy in itself. Swami and Friends is about childhood. Bachelor of Arts is about college going and love. English teacher is about maturity and spirituality. Swami and Friends, protagonist is Swami. In Bachelor of Arts, protagonist is Chandran. And in English teacher, the protagonist is Krishnan. In English teacher, Krishnan brings back his wife's spirit back to earth. That is why it is a novel based on Satyavan Savitri myth, because Savitri also brought back Satyavan to earth. isn't it? Dark Room is about a woman who's very unhappy in her life. She's suffering. Her name is Savitri, and her husband is not giving her good love. He is an employee of Ingladia Insurance Company, and she always goes into a dark room and sits there. That's why it's called Dark Room. Mr. Sampath, financial expert. These are other early works showing very different kinds of aspects of India. India is coming alive in R.K. Narayan's works. Waiting for the Mahatma is an allegory of Indian freedom struggle where Sri Ram is Mahatma Gandhi and the protagonist Bharati, heroine Bharati, is India itself. Sri Ram and Bharati represent Mahatma Gandhi and India itself. The Guide is the most famous novel of Railway Raju, becoming a spiritual guide. Railway Raju is a tourist guide and a con man. Then he becomes a spiritual guide eventually. And he loves a woman called Rosie or Nalini, but he cannot get her because she is dedicated to the memory of her husband. Who doesn't love her? Marco is his name. Yeah. Then there is Man-Eater of Malgudi. That is the novel where R.K. Narayan says, Rakshasas will bring upon themselves their destruction. What does he mean by Rakshasas? He means colonialism. The colonial masters will destroy themselves. That is the meaning. He says that in the preface. The protagonist is a man who poaches animals from the forest. He steals animals and stuffs them. He's a taxidermist. He's a taxidermist. And ultimately, this man Vasu kills himself. Accidentally, he kills himself. Vasu was the man-eater of Malgudi. He was disrupting the peace of Malgudi. Vendor of sweets is very important. Jagan and Mali, father and son, and the son gets married to an English woman. There is a generation gap and cultural conflict in Vendor of Sweets. The talkative man is, his name we don't know. His story is, he rents a room to Dr. Ran. Like in Man-Eater of Malgudi, Nataraj rents a room to Vasu, and Vasu becomes itna musibat, so much trouble that Nataraj doesn't know what to do. Like that, talkative man rents a room to Mr. Ran, and Dr. Ran becomes itna musibat ki talkative man doesn't know what to do. So all these foreigners who come to Malgudi and cause trouble, they are allegorically the colonial masters. Did you understand? That is talkative man. And to know, there are short story collections. All of us know Malgudi Days, hai na? Malgudi Days, very famous short story collection. Different aspects of life in Malgudi. But Lolly Road, have you heard of that? Lolly Road? Yeah, finally, that is right. When there is a drought, he fasts. We are talking about guide. When there is a drought, he fasts selflessly to bring rains to the village. Now, Lolly Road, a horse and 2 goats and other stories. Under the banyan tree and other stories important. The grandmother's tale. Did you know, guys, he wrote prose abridgment of Ramayana and Mahabharata. Our R.K. Narayan wrote prose abridgments of Ramayana and Mahabharata. Arey, there is so much non-fiction also. Guys, take this PDF seriously because they will ask you more from here than from the novels. They may not ask you anything from the novels, but they will ask you something about reluctant guru or writerly life, things like that they will ask. So remember to look up. Okay, don't take it lightly. Remember, there are 2 autobiographical works that R.K. Narayan has written. It is My Dateless Diary and My Days. They are 2 very important autobiographical works that he has written. Many of his essay collections were essays written for the Hindu. Many essays are criticized for being not so deep, but he has written a lot of essays. Then The Emerald Route, about writing he has written The Writer's Nightmare, The Writerly Life, etc. Raja Rao next. Raja Rao was born a little later than R.K. Narayan, 1908 to 2006. Kantapura, Changing India. Kantapura is the first novel depicting Gandhian movement, as you know. Changing India is an essay collection. The Cow of the Barricades and Other Stories, that is a short story collection. All these came in 1930s and 40s, before the independence. Immediately after independence, Raja Rao wrote Whither India, essay collection about where India is going. It could be very important. Then The Serpent and the Rope, 1960. The Serpent and the Rope is from 1960, that is many years after Kantapura. The Cat and Shakespeare, 1965. Comrade Kirillov, and other works later. Now let me tell you about the major works. The three major novels are Kantapura, Serpent and the Rope, and Cat and Shakespeare. Kantapura is written about a small village called Kantapura, where Gandhian movement is coming through Murthy. Murthy is inspiring everybody to fight against oppression. He is indirectly teaching them Gandhi stories through Jairam Achar, a Harikatha man. And then when Murthy and others are trying to start a rebellion in Skeffington Coffee Estate, what happens is they are arrested. They try to start a rebellion in Skeffington Coffee Estate and they are arrested. At that time, the women of Kantapura become very active. Rangamma, for example. And then finally, the village of Kantapura is burnt and everybody leaves the village. That is how it happens. All this is told in the manner of a Sthala Purana. That means a novel, a narrative of a place. Okay? Every village in India has its own stories. We can't write like the English. We can only write like ourselves. All these things are said in the very famous preface to Kantapura. Kantapura has a very famous preface. Did you understand? Then, years later, he wrote The Serpent and the Rope. The Serpent and the Rope is a very philosophical work about his own life. Rama, the protagonist, is married to a French woman called Madeleine, but being a Hindu Brahmin, he expects something from his wife to be his Vama Bhaga, to be his right side. But Madeleine pursues her own path to salvation that Rama doesn't like. Rama falls in love with Savitri, who is married to Pratap. Rama himself got them married actually, and they also have a Gandharva marriage, but at the end Rama persuades her to go back to her husband. Savitri fulfills the ideal of a woman, like the ideal Nari, the ideal Stri she is, but he does not want to break up her marriage. So he sends her back to her husband. Now, if Kantapura was Gandhism, philosophy of Gandhism, this Serpent and the Rope is the philosophy of Vedanta. And Dharma, Karma, Jnana, Moksha, these levels are also there in his novels. The Cat and Shakespeare is the story of Govindan Nair, a ration shop owner who is he's a mentor, he's an advisor to Ramakrishna Pai. Ramakrishna Pai, this is a funny novel actually, this is a metaphysical comedy. Ramakrishna Pai has an extramarital affair with Shanta, for whom he builds a 3-storied house. And each level of the story, each level of the house or each story of the house is like 3 levels of the consciousness. Jagrata, Swapna and Sushupti. And the whole novel is also based on the nation, the philosophy of the nation. So karma, jnana and moksha or bhakti, these three. If Kantapura is about karma yoga, Serpent and the Rope is about jnana yoga, knowledge, or and Karen Shakespeare is about bhakti or moksha. Comrade Kirillov has the protagonist Padmanabha Iyer, and it is a novel that took inspiration. The title took inspiration from Dostoevsky's The Possessed. Some socialism is there in Comrade Kirillov. The Policeman and the Rose is a short story collection. Then The Chess Master and His Moves is another philosophical comedy. The love affair between Shivarama Shastri and a married woman. That is the story of Chess Master and His Moves. Then On the Ganga Khat is short stories. The Meaning of India essays, remember. The Great Indian Way. This they might ask in NET or SET or GATE. The Great Indian Way. Life of Mahatma Gandhi is a biography by Raja Rao. Mahatma Gandhi's biography, Raja Rao. Cat and Shakespeare. The title I will explain. In Bhakti, there are two margas. The Marjara Kishora Nyaya path of Bhakti and the Markada Kishora Nyaya path of Bhakti. Marjara Kishora is obviously kitten. How does the mother cat carry the kitten? The mother cat will carry the kitten in her mouth. Like that, in Marjara Kishora Nyaya path of Bhakti, God will take care of us. God is with us. He will take care of us. In West, it is called theism. Theism. Markada Kishora Nyaya path of Bhakti means God will not stay with us and take care of us. We have to take care of ourselves. Like the monkey mother will just walk away. If the baby wants, he has to cling to the mother. Like that. So that is the cat in Cat and Shakespeare. Shakespeare is analogously, it is allegorically a presence throughout the novel. Govindan Nair is a ration shop owner. And he creates a philosophy of Shakespeare based on the ration shop. He says, like in Shakespeare, anything can happen in the ration shop. Because in those days, ration cards were full of mistakes. The names were wrong. People who have already died were marked as alive. The names of husbands and wives got mixed up. So he says, this is the philosophy of life in Shakespeare as well as ration shop. Anything can happen in life. That philosophy is contained in the word Shakespeare in the title. So I told you this is a metaphysical comedy. So it's a very, very comic way that he has titled this book. Okay, all right? So I was telling you, the Great Indian Way, a life of Mahatma Gandhi is important. It is a biography of Mahatma Gandhi written by Raja Rao. They might ask you questions like, which of these writers has written a biography of Mahatma Gandhi, for instance? Such a question can be asked. Bhabani Bhattacharya. Bhabani Bhattacharya is also another very important first generation Indian writer, Indian novelist in English, of Bengali origin, of course. And he was strongly influenced by contemporaries like Rabindranath Tagore, Mahatma Gandhi, etc. Bhabani Bhattacharya was a man who wrote about society, Indian society and its travails quite a lot. Some Memorable Yesterdays was his first book, but So Many Hungers, published in the same year as India got independent, that is his most famous book. So Many Hungers is about the independence movement and famine in India that is man-made. Kajoli is the protagonist. Problems in India at this time are because of people's hoarding, people's self-satisfying policies. The rich people in India were not helping the poor people. Such ideas are contained in his early novels, like So Many Hungers. Similar idea is there in He Who Rides a Tiger. People create their own monsters. That is the idea. Here, Kalo is a poor blacksmith who is jailed. He must be inspired by Les Miserables by Victor Hugo in writing He Who Rides a Tiger. Music for Mohini, God is named gold. All these are social satires and criticism of the society you can find in these novels. He has also written some non-fiction works like socio-political currents in Bengal, a 19th century perspective. So apart from the major works by these writers, we have to pay attention to the minor works because they might ask some questions based on that. G.V. Desai, my dear friends, was an amazing writer. He was like James Joyce or T.S. Eliot, I should say. Very, very brilliant modernist writer, but very much underrated. And he has also written just 2 works, All About H. Hatter and years later, Hully and other stories. All About H. Hatter is again like a metaphorical story. It is about a man, an Anglo-Malay man, who is frustrated with society and he wants to go and live in the wilderness. I call this Scholar Gypsy Syndrome. It is my name. Scholar Gypsy Syndrome. It's a comic novel, but it is a reflection on philosophy. H. Hatter stands for Hindustan Wala Hatter. Of course, the name Hatter is in Alice in Wonderland. Mad Hatter. So that is all about H. Hatter. His life is like an odyssey. And how he learns in a funny way from the women in his life. That is the story of G.V. Desai's All About H. Hatter. Then there is Atiya Hussain. Just now I remembered, I forgot to add one writer, Arun Joshi. Arun Joshi is missing in this presentation. Atiya Hussain is the writer of Sunlight on a Broken Column, which is a very major partition novel. All of you might know, partition novel. She was from a Talukdari family. And she was a very privileged woman in her family, in her community. But she was a very progressive woman. She had very forward ideas. And Sunlight on a Broken Column is a title taken from T.S. Eliot's Hollow Men. Hollow Men. Will you remember? Hollow Men. And it shows partition violence. Then the next writer is Manohar Malgonkar. He is from a Maharashtrian family. His novels are realistic. He has written famous novels based on his own experiences in Maratha light infantry. He was a soldier, a colonel, and he wrote Distant Drum, A Combat of Shadows, The Princess. Very famous is A Bend in the Ganges. A Bend in the Ganges is on the theme of partition. You might know that it has a lot of Gandhian elements in it. It starts with the civil disobedience movement of Gandhi. That is pretty famous, they might ask you. And also it ends with partition riots. It's one of the famous partition novels. Think of partition novels. I have also not included Khushwant Singh. His Train to Pakistan is a very famous partition novel. Gyan Talwar, Debi Dayal, Shafi Usman, these are the famous characters in A Bend in the Ganges. You should know it because it's important. And the epigraph of the novel is a quotation from Mahatma Gandhi. K.A. Abbas, all of us know because of his association with these blockbuster movies of the past, Awara, Shri 420, Mera Naam Joker, Bobby, etc. But he is also a novelist who wrote Inquilab, a very famous political novel. Did you know his autobiography is famous? I Am Not an Island, an experiment in autobiography. I Am Not an Island, title taken from John Donne. John Donne. Did you know, guys, My World is My Village and Maria, other works by K.A. Abbas. Am I boring you because I'm not saying anything interesting, eh? Is it boring? I am just saying boring things. Inquilab, first great novel of the Indian Revolution, it is called. Wow, that is K.A. Abbas. Did you know, guys, he was a very major Urdu short story writer. He has written a lot of short stories in Urdu. And he has written a major play, Barrister at Law, play about the early life of Mahatma Gandhi. Did you know that? It is K.A. Abbas. Next, we have to talk about Kamala Markandaya. Kamala Markandaya Used to be very much prescribed in universities once upon a time. Kamala Purnaya Taylor, real name. Nectar in a sieve, city, country, relationship. Country people, countryside people, Rukmini and Nathan are moving to the city. Poverty, growing family, fertility is an obsession, sufferings in the city. This is the theme of Nectar in a Sieve. You might know, I am not an island. No man is an island. That is the real words of John Donne. Meditation number 17. No man is an island. That is the adaptation. That is what is adapted in I am not an island. No man is an island is meditation number 17 of John Donne. Then, Kamala Markandaya has written about other, so many traditional aspects of relationship is there in Kamala Markandaya. For example, in Two Virgins, she is talking about two sisters. Like Sita and Geeta, one is smart and gets into trouble. The other is not smart or beautiful, but she wants to follow her sister, things like that. A Handful of Rice is a novel that is about famine. It's about hunger. Ravi Shankar is the famous protagonist of A Handful of Rice. I'm hungry, he says at the beginning of the novel itself. That is very famous. Then so many other novels that I have not talked about. Some Inner Fury, A Silence of Desire, Possession, which is also the title of a novel by the Booker Prize winning A.S. Byatt. Cofferdams, Nowhere Man, they have already asked something in net. The Golden Honeycomb, etc. Now, Nayantara Sehgal. Nayantara Sehgal is from the Nehru family, Vijayalakshmi Pandit's daughter, and her autobiographical work, Prison and Chocolate Cake, is a very important depiction of the family. She has also written the very famous novel Rich Like Us, a political novel which won Sahitya Akademi Award. It is the story of Sonali and Rose. Sonali is an Indian girl, a civil servant, and Rose is her uncle's wife. She is British. So their lives and their sufferings and incompatibility with society, etc. are the important themes. Then there are novels like Mistaken Identity, which is important. Mistaken Identity is one aristocratic royal man from India gets mistaken for somebody else and he gets arrested. That is the story of Mistaken Identity. They don't ask a lot of questions from these writers, but some questions are possible. Chaman Nahal is another first generation Indian writer who's famous for his Gandhi quartet. Azadi, The Crown and the Loincloth, The Salt of Life, The Triumph of the Tricolour. These are the other major novels. Triumph of the Tricolour deals with Quit India movement. Guys, they can ask you a question like this in GATE. What is common to these novels? Answer could be they all deal with Quit India movement. Did you understand? No, I don't mean these novels. I mean they will give you 2-3 novels and say what is common to these novels. So Azadi tells the family of Lala Kanshiram, one fictitious man, and it goes up to the assassination of Mahatma Gandhi. Azadi. The Crown and the Loincloth is about salt satyagraha. No, sorry. Salt of Life is about salt satyagraha. Crown and the Loincloth is Jallianwala Bagh. Jallianwala Bagh is there in Crown and the Loincloth. So various aspects of freedom struggle, that's right, is there in... Yes, it is a partition novel, Azadi, because it is taking us through 1947. Partition is not the only thing, but Azadi is the period of independence and partition, yes. Ruth Prawer Jhabvala is another first generation Indian novelist. She was German, married to an Indian, and she was the first person to get a Booker Prize from India. And also she Yes, and she also got Oscar because she worked with Merchant Ivory Productions. Merchant Ivory Productions. Her Booker Prize was for Heat and Dust. Heat and Dust. Then Heat and Dust is a story of Olivia and her great-granddaughter, unnamed great-granddaughter. Olivia was a British woman who was the wife of a Nawab, and Olivia's story is being told or rediscovered by her great-granddaughter. That is Ruth Prawer Jhabvala. Now we come to the second generation Indian English writers, novelists. Before that, Unacademy wants to tell you that there is this offer tonight also. If you want, you can take it now. Shashi Deshpande is a second generation Indian novelist. And after that, there is a third generation Indian novelist. The Dark Holds No Terrors, as all of you would know, is a story of Sarita. All her novels are very famous, and one of these is prescribed in some university or the other. That means all of these are prescribed somewhere or the other. Sarita is a successful lady doctor, and all these novels are about women who are suffering from some family relationship or memories and how they come to terms with themselves, their journey of life. So they might ask you names of characters also. Dark Holds No Terrors has Sarita, then Roots and Shadows has Indu. Those are very famous novels. That Long Silence they asked recently. 1989 in NET they asked something to arrange chronologically. That Long Silence, 1989. Don't forget. That Long Silence has Jaya, failed writer Jaya. Then Small Remedies is a different kind of a novel. Madhu Saptarshi is going to write the biography of the musician Savitri Bai Indorkar. That is the story of, it is not the same kind of woman traveling back to her past and coming to terms. That is not the... yes, every day I am giving all these PPTs in my Telegram group. Every day I am saying this. You are still asking me. You can join and get them. I already posted everything in the correct order also. Then there is another very interesting novel, Binding Wine. That is Urmila is trying to publish her stepmother-in-law's poems and diaries. And she was a victim of domestic rape. There is a parallel story in Binding Wine. Shakuntala and her daughter Kalpana. Kalpana has been raped by her own brother-in-law. That is the story of Binding Wine. You know, many women's lives crisscrossing. Shashi Deshpande's novels could be very important for you in any exam. So is, of course, Anita Desai. Anita Desai's, starting from her first novel, Cry the Peacock, all are prescribed. They have many times asked Anita Desai in exams as well. So which two novels talks about a woman traveling back to her ancestral home and encountering the demons of the past? You know, questions like that can come from Anita Desai and Shashi Deshpande. Which of these novels are not set in India? That kind of questions can come. Which of these novels deal with family relationship, or which of these novels do not deal with family relationship? Like that also they can ask. So there are so many ways in which questions can come in the exam. When you study, just keep that in mind, because then it will help you. Cry the Peacock is an amazing novel where a woman, her name is Maya, she is the wife of Gautam. She is not getting the kind of attention and love that she needs. And she goes mad, pushes her husband from the parapet and kills him, and then she kills herself. That is an ambivalent ending. It is not very clearly stated, but presumably that's what happens. Then there are so many other important works. Bye Bye Blackbird, for example, is about two immigrants in England, two Indian men in England. One of them is married. Then we have the most famous novel, Fire on the Mountain. It has three unlikely women as protagonists. One is a very old matriarch, Nanda Kaul. She is living alone in Kasoli in the Himalayas, and her great-granddaughter, Raka, comes to live with her. At first, she doesn't connect with Raka, but later she understands that Raka is very much like her. Raka spends all the time in the mountains by herself. Then Nanda's friend, younger, middle-aged woman, Ila Das is there. She was an academic and now she is an activist, and she prevents an old man, Zamindar, from marrying a child, for which she is raped and killed. Ila Das is raped and killed. Nanda Kaul hears about it on the telephone, and then she lies there and probably she's going to die. She dies. Again, only suggested. And then at that moment, Raka comes and says, I have set the mountain on fire. She was playing in the mountain and she accidentally set it on fire. And this is a very powerful objective correlative of how oppression on women, on silencing of women will ultimately break out as fire. The mountain will catch fire one day, The retaliation, the power of retaliation is what is denoted by fire on the mountain. Another novelist I have not included is Ahmad Ali. Ahmad Ali's Twilight in Delhi is another very famous partition novel that I have not mentioned in the PowerPoint. Just remember, that is very important. Arun Joshi is there. I thought I didn't include Arun Joshi. Sorry, Arun Joshi. Arun Joshi has written very famous novels again, like The Foreigner, The Strange Case of Billy Biswas. Arey, Billy Biswas. What is common to Billy Biswas and All About H. Hatter? Bolo bolo. Both these novels have educated protagonists who want to leave the city, who want to leave their job, and they want to go and live in the countryside. That is the story. Also in Hullabaloo in the Guava Orchard. All this I call scholar gypsy syndrome. Because you don't want to live in the city and deal with all the fret and fever of modernity. You want to go away to the countryside. That is our strange case of Billy Biswas. Guys, in Arun Joshi, there's a lot of existentialism and absurdity. Existentialism and absurdity is there in Arun Joshi. The Foreigner is the story of Cindy Oberoi. Cindy Oberoi. These characters and all are important, okay? The Last Labyrinth won the Sahitya Academy Award. There are other works that I have not mentioned. I did not mention every single work. So remember, these are all very important. Second generation Indian novelists. Geeta Mehta is the sister of Naveen Patnaik and daughter of Biju Patnaik. She has written a number of major novels such as Karmakola, Raj, A River Sutra. It's about people living in and around Narmada River. A River Sutra is like Miguel Street of V.S. Nepal. A group of people living in a place. That is the meaning. Then we have Tarun Tejpal. Tarun Tejpal is remembered, he is very famous for Tehelka. And the government also taught him a lesson perhaps. There was a scam against him which destroyed his career more or less. But recently it was made clear that it was not true. It was a scam. Now, Tarun Tejpal has written amazing novels. The Alchemy of Desire, Story of My Assassins, Valley of Masks. And Tarun Tejpal is also very famous for starting India Inc., which published Arundhati Roy's God of Small Things. India Inc. Indian Inc. is there. That is Tom Stoppett's play. Indian Inc. This is India Inc. Yes. Manju Kapoor is the author of Difficult Daughters. Veermati, remember? You must know already. Veermati is the protagonist. She rebels against her mother, and Veermati's daughter does not like Veermati. So 3 generations of women all rebelling against their mothers. That is Manju Kapoor. Custody is by Manju Kapoor. Who wrote In Custody? In Custody, Anita Desai. Taradang, Alan Seeley. He lives in Uttar Pradesh, I think. His famous novel is The Everest Hotel. Did you know it was shortlisted for Booker Prize? The Everest Hotel. Will you look up all these works, guys? I'm talking only about the most important writers. Those who are not so important, I'm not talking about. Okay? Meena Alexander. Yesterday also I said she passed away. Today also I'm saying she passed away. 2018, I think. Poetry, autobiography, novels, criticism, everything she has written. Meena Alexander's poetry collections are House of 1,000 Doors, Night Scene, The Garden, Illiterate Heart, Raw Silk. Autobiography of Meena Alexander is Fault Lines, Nampally Road and Manhattan Music. They are her novels. Novels of Meena Alexander. Many of these writers are prescribed in many of our exams. So download this PDF, keep it, do a little bit of reading about all these works. It will tremendously help you. Will you do that, guys? I have started PGTRB videos. I will post one or two every day. Will you watch it? Did you watch it already? And I'll be starting HSST coaching for Kerala with a lot of authors and works covered. If you're writing HSST exam, you can join us. And there will be a truckload of material. I am telling you, I won't give you the truck. You have to bring the truck. Only truckload of material I will give you. How is my joke? See, Meena Alexander wrote Criticism, Women in Romanticism. It's about Mary Wollstonecraft, Dorothy Wordsworth, and Mary Shelley. The Poetic Self, another book on Romanticism. Taradang, Vikram Seth. Vikram Seth is a novelist, but even his first novel was poetry. The Golden Gate is a verse novel based on Eugene Onegin. A Suitable Boy, An Equal Music, A Suitable Girl. Important novels by Vikram Seth. You must have seen Suitable Boy in Netflix, haven't you? He has written a lot of poetry collections, lots of poetry, lots. Mappings. All You Who Sleep Tonight is famous. He has written a travel book, Beastly Tales from Here and There, Two Lives, non-fiction family memoir. So many works by Vikram Seth that are important. GIC main. People are telling me, when is the GIC main exam? I have to download the syllabus and see if I can do it or not. Do you think I will be able to? Am I good enough? मैं तो एक बुद्धू हूँ ना. GIC main exam कब है? बहुत बड़ा सिलेबस होगा ना. बताओ, मैं देखती हूँ. Now, Geeta Hariharan, very important writer who won Commonwealth Writers Prize. GK set कब है बोलो? GK set 13th of March. GK set कब है? JK set. IGNU PhD entrance कब है? Now, Geeta Hariharan is the author of 1,000 Phases of Night. 1,000 Phases of Night. In all these novels, you see, 15th May is JK set. Okay. All right. In all these novels, you see contemporary Indian society. 24th February IGNOU entrance. Then, I did not talk about Vikram Seth enough. Golden Gate is the story of California yuppies. They might ask you, John Brown and Liz Doherty, they are the protagonists. Which of these novels have only Western characters? One question they can ask in Gate. Which of these novels have only Western characters? Then, a suitable boy shows upper class Indians immediately after independence. An equal music also has only European characters. An equal music. Michael Holm and Julia Nicole. They are musicians. And Julia Nicole is going deaf. Northeast Slut is 27th Feb. मैं लिख रही हूँ. I will schedule and one by one at least do mock tests or anything. Something I'll do. PGTRB कब है? और any other upcoming exams बोलो. CG SLET है ना? CG SLET. छत्तीसगढ़ SLET. इन सब के लिए ये PDF तो पढ़ना है, ठीक है? These PDFs that I'm giving you are very valuable. The ghosts of Vasu Master and all are prescribed in universities. 1,000 Faces of Night is the story of Devi, Sita, Mayama, 3 women. Devi, Sita, Mayama. Shashi Tharoor, his essays, newspaper articles, ऐसे Google search करना. Because they had asked in KSET or something about Shashi Tharoor's newspaper article. Newspaper article of Shashi Tharoor recently they had asked. In KSET, I think. Amitav Ghosh, as all of us know, is very, very important. Amitav Ghosh has written The Circle of Reason, his debut novel. And Circle of Reason is about my God, so much. He is a writer of international standards. Apart from Jnanpith Award, he has got several awards that has brought India to a renewed importance in world literary circles. Yeah, so we were going to talk about his novels. His most famous novels are Shadow Lines and probably Glass Palace. They are very historical novels written in the manner of Midnight's Children. Shadow Lines is the story of an unnamed narrator and his family as they lived through the trials and tribulations of India in the second half of the 20th century. And there are 2 major families here, the Trilosans and the Datta Chaudharys. And there are 2 parts in the novel, Going Away and Coming Home. I will do JK set, yes. So Going Away and Coming Home, these are the 2 parts of Shadow Lines, very important. Unnamed narrator. Novel is set in Calcutta, Dhaka, London. Which of the following novels are partly set in Calcutta and London? For example, they can ask. Which of these novels are partly set in Calcutta and London? Trideep is the uncle of the unnamed narrator. Trideep is the uncle. Ila, Thaima, important characters. The Calcutta chromosome is like a science fiction puzzle. It is like a science fiction puzzle set against the discovery of malaria vaccine, etc. A novel of fevers, delirium, and discovery. That is the title, full subtitle. The Glass Palace is also a political and historical novel set in Burma. The Glass Palace, the title, refers to the fragile honor of the Burmese aristocracy. Then, Hungry Tide is another very important novel set in the Sundarbans. And it has 2 parts, isn't it? Piali Roy, how many parts? Two parts, isn't it? I might be wrong about the parts. Set in the Sundarbans, which is itself a very labyrinthine place that is suitable for the plot. Piali Roy is the protagonist. She is a young marine biologist and she is searching for an endangered dolphin. The Morajjapi massacre is the backdrop of Hungry Tide. It's a very famous novel again. Then Ibis trilogy has 3 novels set against the opium trade in China. Sea of Poppies, River of Smoke, and Flood of Fire. These are the 3 novels of Ibis trilogy. And he is in a very postmodern way doing a historiographic metafiction of real history. Gun Island is a novel about a man who is selling old books. But that is only the superficial story. It is actually an allegory of a world that is going to break down on the brink of destruction. He's a very major novelist who has also written a lot of non-fiction. In an Antique Land is an ethnographic text about Egypt. Our Amitav Ghosh himself lived and studied in Egypt, worked in Egypt. And here there are 2 parts of the narrative. One is an anthropological story, an anthropological narrative. And the second is the story of a 12th century Jewish merchant. 2 parts of In an Antique Land. Then there are essay collections like Dancing in Cambodia, At Large in Burma, The Imam and the Indian, Incendiary Circumstances. And then, Suno, there are 2 important books that are about climate change and such things. The Great Derangement and the Nutmeg's Curse. The Great Derangement and the Nutmeg's Curse. Mock test, after, from next week, मैं mock test भी करवाऊंगी, ठीक है? Okay. Yes, Didi, and shortlisted for Booker, correct. From tomorrow, from Monday, I'll do mock test also, ठीक है? I will. कल है ना दलित लिटरेचर? Easy handbook. Okay, I will do. दलित लिटरेचर का लिखती हूँ. आप लोग जो कहेंगे मैं करूंगी. Chitra, Banerjee, Divakaruni. Arranged Marriage, Mistress of Spices, Sister of My Heart, The Wine of Desire. These are magic realist novels. And Palace of Illusions is based on सब करूंगी. मैंने यहाँ लिखा है ना, करूंगी. Next week we will do mock tests पूरा with explanation. I will teach and explain. Okay? बस question answer ऐसा नहीं, with explanation करूंगी. ठीक है? Okay. Then gate का type का mock test बनाऊंगी. No, I don't have for PGT classes, but I will do audios and videos every day. This PDF you can get from a Telegram group. If you just send me a WhatsApp message, you will get the Telegram link. Just WhatsApp me. Guys, very, very important authors are coming up. Don't leave the session, okay? Very important authors are coming up. Chitra Banerjee Divakaruni Suno wrote The Palace of Illusions based on Mahabharata and The Forest of Enchantments based on Ramayana. Okay? Oh, 27 writers and exam is descriptive in GIC. Okay. I will find out. Now, Mukul Keshavan. Did you know, guys, apart from his novel Looking Through Glass, which is like magic realism, a man falling into Quit India time, he has written a book on cricket called Men in White. The ugliness of the Indian male and other propositions. That is a book he has written about masculinity and male. And co-editor of Civil Lines. It's a famous journal of Indian writing in English. Civil Lines is a famous journal. So no, they might ask you all these things. Abhi to bahut important authors aa rahe hain. Don't go. In 15 minutes I will finish. 10 minutes, okay? These are all important, they might ask. Men in White is a book on cricket. किसी और ने क्रिकेट के बारे में एक बुक लिखा. कौन है? Selection Day. Chutney maker father is preparing his 2 sons for cricket selection. GIC is like civil service of UP. Yashoda. That is Selection Day by Arvind Adiga. David Davidar is the author of The House of Blue Mangoes. David Davidar worked in which publishing company? David Davidar worked in a big publishing company. वो है worked with Penguin, and he was a co-founder of Aleph Book Company. Aleph could be important. Republic Day special yaad rakhna. R.K. Narayan also, he didn't write a book on cricket, did he, Lakshmi? He just mentioned cricket in Malgudi. Then Upamanyu Chatterjee, remember they asked about Agastya Sen in English August. Upamanyu Chatterjee is a civil servant. He is an IAS officer and he has written about that only. Then the assassination of Indira Gandhi, watching them, these are major short stories. His novels include English August, The Last Burden. English August का sequel है The Memories of the Welfare State. Then Weight Loss, then Way to Go. Way to Go is sequel to Last Burden. He is a civil servant and English August has Agastya Sen, who is a civil servant. है ना? Jeet Tayal. His debut novel is Narcopolis, but before that he has written many poetry collections. He is originally a poet. Gemini, Apocalypso, and these errors are correct, got Sahitya Akademi Award. I will do gate type, JK set type, ऐसा ही करूँगी, ठीक है? All right. GIC का मैं देखती हूँ, कुछ कर सकती हूँ कि नहीं? मुझे थोड़ा सा डर लगता है क्योंकि बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट एग्जाम और मैं उसका लायक हूँ कि नहीं पता नहीं मुझे. Jeet Tayal, Narcopolis is about drug culture. Did you know, guys, drug narratives are there? Drug culture narratives. Thank you, Inglet. We will do more like that. Then, Vikram Chandra, Red Earth and Pouring Rain. Love and Longing. Arey, did you know Red Earth and Pouring Rain got Fantasy Award? It's a fantasy novel. Did you know that? Then Love and Longing in Bombay. Sacred Games, आप लोगों ने देखा होगा ना? Sacred Games is very famous Netflix series. Then Geek Sublimes. One more book is there. Geek Sublimes, about geeks. Remember that. Important. Then Arundhati Roy. 2 novels only, God of Small Things and Ministry of Utmost Happiness. But look at her non-fiction. They might ask from any of these. मैं prepare करके सब करूँगी. I will help you. If I study and help you, then उतना कम लगेगा ना आप लोगों का काम. Your work will be less. तो मैं कर सकती हूँ. थोड़ा prepare करके मैं अच्छी तरह करूँगी. If you trust me. So many awards also. Azadi is a, non-fiction by Arundhati Roy. Likha hai na yahan. Azadi. An Ordinary Person's Guide to the Empire, famous. Capitalism, a Ghost Story. Algebra of Infinite Justice is famous. There are 2 conversations with Arundhati Roy. The Checkbook and the Cruise Missile and the Shape of the Beast. Could be important. Even children's books by major authors they were asking last time. Remember? Jayashree Mishra. This novel Rani is about Rani Lakshmibai of Jhansi. अरे उतने सारे नहीं हैं. If you know a little bit extra about all these things and just keep reading, revise. Don't try to memorize ever. If you try to memorize, yaad nahi rahega. Tell your brain, no brain, we are not remembering. We are just reading. We are just enjoying. We are just reading because we love to read about it. Aise padho. Oh my God, I have to memorize. Somehow I have to memorize for exam. Don't study like that. Essay, just enjoy. Wow, now all my work is over. Now let me enjoy and read ma'am's PDF. Let me enjoy and have some rest doing some research on these works. Essay socho. Trick your brain. Your brain will get scared if you say, let us memorize. You have to memorize everything, brain. You shouldn't say that. Koi nahi, we are going to have fun. You don't have to memorize. Like that, you have to tell your brain. Amit Chaudhary, very important. Did you know, guys? Amit Chaudhary and G. Tayil both write librettos. Amit Chaudhary is a musician, North Indian musician. Hindustani music. And he has written a lot of books about music. Novels are Afternoon Rag, Freedom Song, A New World won Sahitya Academy Award. So many collections of stories, poetry, everything. Odysseus Abroad is famous. Odysseus Abroad. Then he has written non-fiction. Essay questions aayega. He edited the Picador Book of Modern Indian Literature. Aayega zarur. Difference, post-coloniality and the poetry of the present. Suno, Salman Rushdie and Elizabeth West have edited a couple of anthologies like this. Could be important. Will you check it out and read? Salman Rushdie's and Elizabeth. One is Vintage Book of Indian Writing in English. One more is there. Salman Rushdie and Elizabeth West. Anthologies. Don't feel pressurized. I'm like, oh my God, it's so wonderful. I want to know the anthologies. I want to know about these authors. Like that, because of my passion, I'm able to work. Like that, if you work with passion, you can study. Every day. Dekho, Anita Nair. Yashoda is from Shillong. Yashoda is my plus baby from Shillong. Hai na, Yashoda? Now, Anita Nair is my Malayali writer. But she lives in Bangalore. She has written one play also, 9 Phases of Being. Bashir, as of now, there is no offer, but altogether it is like 12,000. HSA is only 4,000 and HSST is 8,000. Altogether only 12,000. It is like and you get so much material. You will be able to prepare for any exam after that. I am from Kerala, Ghulam Mustafa. Kerala is, no, I'm so sorry, Yashoda. I was trying to remember where you're from. I forgot. Sorry, I'm not right. यशोदा, अभी तो बहुत सारे लोग जान गए कि आप शिलोंग से हैं. शिलोंग जाके रहो. That is better. Now I have already announced because you are from Shillong, so you go shift to Shillong and live there. Anita Nair wrote The Better Man, Ladies Coupe, Mistress, Lessons in Forgetting. इतना हंसती हूँ कि पढ़ा नहीं पा रही हूँ. जेरी पिंटो इम्पोर्टेंट. बॉम्बे मेरी जान लिखा उसने. देखो, बॉम्बे मेरी जान. No problem, Yashoda, it's okay. Asylum and Other Poems. He co-edited with Arundhati Subramaniam, Confronting Love, a book of contemporary Indian love poetry in English. Sikkim. Sikkim. Correct. Sikkim. I am in Trivandrum. I was thinking Shillong, Sikkim, something like that. And then I said Shillong. So now, Jerry Pinto has written The Life and Times of an H-Bomb. पता है कौन है H-Bomb? Yes, Lakshmi. पता है क्या है H-Bomb? क्लू देती हूँ मैं तो K-Bomb. तो H-Bomb कौन होगा? मैं K-Bomb. तो H-Bomb कौन होगा? नहीं पता? महबूबा हेलेन, एक्ट्रेस हेलेन का बायोग्राफी है. दिस इज एक्ट्रेस हेलेन्स बायोग्राफी. Life and Times of an H-Bomb. I like it. From that time I am thinking, okay, I will write my autobiography, K-Bomb. Different type of bomb. Put me in YouTube and I explode. That kind of bomb. Ghulam Mustafa, abhi to I have not decided the fees and everything. February, when in February we'll announce. Yes! Mehbooba, oi, that Helen it is. And along with Leela Naidu, he wrote Leela, A Patchwork Life. M and the Big Whom was published in 2012. It became very famous. M and the Big Whom. And he has also written translations of Dalit writers. Jerry Pinto, we love you. Jerry Pinto, I am glad you wrote all these wonderful works. Arey, Jhumpa Lahiri. Jhumpa Lahiri wrote Interpreter of Maladies. हाँ अवनीश, मुझे तो मिलेगा एक दादी माँ का रोल या तो कोई कॉमेडी रोल मिलेगा मुझे. इंटरप्रेटर ऑफ मैलेडीज. ये क्या किया मैंने? अरे गलती हो गई. Jhumpa Lahiri wrote short story collection, Interpreter of Maladies, Unaccustomed Earth. That is right, Sunil Kumar. Arundhati Subramaniam, we said yesterday. wrote When God is a Traveler. The same Arundhati Subramaniam. Interpreter of Melodies and Unaccustomed Earth is short story collection. Namesake, Ashok and Ashima and Gogol. The Lowlands. Arey, Jhumpa Lahiri these days writes in Italian. Zarur पूछेंगे net set gate में. Jhumpa Lahiri writes in which language other than English? Then Kiran Desai, Hullabaloo in the Guava Orchard. Hullabaloo in the Guava Orchard. And Inheritance of Loss. These famous books, only 2 she wrote. अरे किरण देसाई टाइम क्यों बर्बाद कर रही हो, कुछ लिखो और अवार्ड्स ले लो. Anjana Appachana has written Incantations and Other Stories. Listening now. They have already asked questions on Anjana Appachana, I am telling you. Then Arvind Adiga, The White Tiger. Balram Halwai. Between the assassinations, it is about Indira Gandhi's assassination and Rajiv Gandhi's assassination. Okay, Rahila, ऐसे ही करती हूँ. Last man in tower. One Masterji is refusing to leave his house. Everybody wants the old flat to be taken by builder, but one Masterji says, मैं नहीं जाऊँगा. Selection day, I told you na, chutney wala father. Balram Halwai is becoming an industrialist. He is becoming a businessman by killing and cheating and stealing. And he is saying, whole of India. मैं करूँगी. I will do from next week. Jagdish, everybody, I will do from next week. MCQB. Next week, say. Then selection day, sorry, I was talking about Balram Halwai. And Balram Halwai says India is a rooster coop. अरे आप लोगों ने मूवी नहीं देखा? Movie, but White Tiger movie देखा ना? Yes. Bubbly is a smart girl. She watched the movie. Republic Day offer. कोड याद रखना. मेरा नाम जोकर नहीं, कल्याणी वलत. मेरा नाम जोकर, मेरा नाम कल्याणी वलत. Netflix देख लो. Story and White Tiger, Suitable Boy, all these things. Okay, tomorrow we will have drama and Dalit literature. Tomorrow I won't be giving MCQs, but उसके बाद MCQs शुरू करते हैं. ठीक है? जैसे आप बोलोगे वैसे करेंगे. आज टेलीग्राम ग्रुप से लेना हमारा PDF. बाय बाय. क्लास इज ओवर. बहुत हो गया टाइम. You must be sleepy. Thank you guys. Love you all. I enjoyed like I was playing in a park. Ayyo.